Welcome to our show. It's Friday night, and you know what that means. It's 5 p.m. somewhere in the world, and we are the Asea 5, coming to you to teach you about redox signaling molecules. I'm Dr. Hayes from Galveston, Texas, semi-retired anesthesiologist and pain specialist, and I am joined by my co-host. That's Jim and Ann Glenn from San Antonio, Texas. Jim is our big money man, and Ann is our beautiful personal trainer and nutritionist. And we have the unbelievable, incomparable Dr. Lee Osler from Washington State, our dentist extraordinaire, and the author of Redox Matters and soon to come Healthy Matters. So be looking for that. Yeah, Redox Matters, beautiful book, teach you about the science of redox signaling, why it's important, why you want it. And Healthy Matters is going to be the unbelievable sequel to that that's going to teach you how to take that and transition it into a healthy lifestyle. So we cannot wait. Make sure you're in Las Vegas so that you can get your very own copy of that. And tonight we have a very special friend of mine, a gentleman that I've known for probably about a decade now, one of the first people to join me on this pursuit in Asea. I actually knew more about Asea when we first got started than I did. Dr. Larry Cairns from Benton Harbor, Michigan. He's a retired OBGYN. He's birthed thousands of babies and helped lots of women with challenges over the years. Retired now and full-time redox educator, who I am so happy to have him join me. He and his wife are two of my favorite people. They just have such a big heart for other people, have been missionaries all over the world, teaching people about all sorts of things, and just so concerned about people's their health, their lives, their souls, just unbelievably giving, loving people. And so glad to have Dr. Larry join us tonight. So Dr. Larry, please come on. If you would, give us a little bit more of your background, kind of take us from where you were, talk about your career over the years, your mission work, and then tell us, because it's such an incredible story, how you were exposed to Asea, what kind of caught your attention, and why you decided to join me in this venture. So
well,
thanks,
thank you
Dr.
for
Larry.
the invitation to come on this fabulous call. I watch it each week myself and don't want to miss it. But tonight, thank you for inviting me to be part of it. I was just thinking, I'm here because of Dr. Maureen and Terry Latham and Jerry White and Denny Robinson and Trish Schwenkler and Alan Noble. Any one of those people in the chain had not done what they did, I wouldn't be here tonight, and I wouldn't be able to tell you about what this has done for my life. My background is I have one brother and a dad who was very curious about science, about nature, about all of God's creation. He taught me to love learning. He had dreamed of becoming a physician himself, but it was the end of the Second World War, and he became a tool design engineer that led him to, led him to do some more studying. He became a pastor. We moved to northern Minnesota, and I grew up in Bemidji, Minnesota, for those of you who are there right now watching this. He often wondered out loud things like, I wonder if someday that splot of the bug that just hit my windshield will be some medical help of some sort. There's there's got to be something good in that. We would go fishing, and the fishing would always end up with cleaning, of course, but an anatomy lesson, looking at the inner parts of the fish and staying away from the gallbladder so as not to spread the gall on the meat that we wanted to eat because it wouldn't taste very good. He used to help me identify various plants, including poison ivy, and how to use tools well and correctly and leverage. And we'll talk a little bit about that later. My older brother, I think as long as he lived, wanted to be a physician.
Oh, it doesn't look like it.
He loved the Jungle Doctor books. There was a whole series of those, and had that in his heart to do that. He actually practiced in Zaire, Africa, for about 18 years. He is the first expatriate to have gotten and recovered fully from Ebola back in 1970, before it had a name. They didn't know what it was. but he survived after a few weeks of being very, very sick. And of course, then it was just snail mail. So we had no knowledge that he was sick until he was well into it. But I was intrigued by technology. I was a ham radio operator as a high schooler, advanced to broadcast and radio engineering and announcing, and then got a second job as an orderly in a hospital. And I was really intrigued by what I saw and the potential there. Moved on in my degrees to change to pre-med. And when I graduated, my dad claimed he had a paradox. That's supposed to be funny, but okay. So it was a paradox. Both of us were doctors. I had a good OBGYN clerkship in medical school. Learned there were many opportunities to practice around the world because of the need for surgery for gynecologists. I took a leave of absence from my residency for a year and went to Zaire, Africa, to work with my brother in the hospital there. It's a 180-bed hospital. The typical census was 230 people. People were more than one in a bed, under the bed, on the floor, with chickens and pigs and roosters and so on, wandering in and out. It's quite interesting. That's where my wife, Sue, gave birth to our second child. So my strong and lovely wife, Sue, was with me at that time. And then finished the residency, learned that all those positions looking for OBGYNs were basically in countries that wouldn't allow me as a male to examine a female patient. I might be given permission to do surgery if I could figure out what I needed to do, but if I couldn't examine them, that just didn't make sense. So practiced in the States for about 41 years and visited 7 countries over the years with teaching about advanced laparoscopy and hysteroscopy technology and helping people that way. Retired in 2011 and have been working with Asea for the last 8 years. Maureen, you asked how that came about, and it really came about when I was at a business convention learning how to do this kind of business. And 3-day session, I was standing waiting for the music to stop and for the speaker to show up. And I noticed a man being wheeled in a wheelchair. He was hunched over, very stony expression on his face, pill rolling tremor of his hands. Same thing that Michael, the actor, I was thinking of it.
Michael J. Fox.
Yeah, Michael J. Fox. Thank you. Fights. And I went and talked to the wife. The guy looked at me, kind of looked through me. Didn't respond when I tried to talk to him. 3 or 4 months later, we went back to the graduate seminar of the same thing. And as the music was still playing and the speaker hadn't come out yet, I was standing waiting, and I noticed the same couple come in. This time he was walking, holding her arm, but sat in a normal chair, took notes, interacted humorously with people on both sides of him. They were known in the group. And I had to find out whatever made such a difference, because in all the years of practicing medicine, I had never seen someone with that condition have a reversal of his symptoms like that. And they said, well, let's go out to eat. We're not supposed to share what our company is here, but it has to do with that. We went 8 blocks. We walked to the restaurant at a normal pace with this gentleman and his wife, sat there and talked for the evening and learned about Asea and what it had done for him. Subsequent to that, he and his wife moved to New Zealand before New Zealand was an open country for Asea. And so they had to have their materials shipped in secondhand from somebody from the States. And there was a shipping problem. He went 3 weeks without his Asea, and he was back in the wheelchair, back with the cogwheel rigidity and difficult times. Once he got back on the product, they sent me a video of the two of them ballroom dancing in their home. A little clumsy, but who am I to talk? I don't dance at all. I'd kill somebody. But anyway, that was my introduction to this. And it took a while to really catch on and say, what is this all about? And is there something to this? We had met Dr. Hayes. A year had gone by since we saw that couple, and she invited us to become part of the team here, and has been extremely helpful in our business. So that's kind of the background. And
I feel
That's
blessed
awesome.
to have you
Background.
and see on my team. Yeah, it's awesome.
Okay.
Yes, that's
So,
good.
Dr. Larry, explain. We have a lot of new people that might be watching this for the first time. They have really no idea what we're talking about. Could you please describe what we're discussing, these redox signaling molecules, please? How would you explain it to someone that you've known for a while or whatever? How would you explain it to me?
okay, I would
And
say,
give the disclaimer. Hey, Doc, would you mind
Lee.
giving?
Or
sure.
Lee?
Are you on?
Yeah, go ahead.
Go for it, Lee.
Well, we are talking about supplements here, and so as accordingly, we are not diagnosing or treating or using these agents for any medical reason such as that. This is a cellular health product, and so we stay within those guidelines.
Okay, so we don't claim
Thank you,
that,
Lee.
what
Awesome.
we're doing, what we're talking about, prevents, treats, diagnoses, or cures any medical condition. But whatever cells in the body are struggling for whatever reason, they will do better once they have gotten replenished with molecules that are native to every cell of our bodies. Now, you can think of yourself as a person, but you're made up of systems that are made up of organs, that are made up of tissues, that are made up of cells. And in every cell of our bodies are these funny things we didn't even know about 25 years ago called redox signaling molecules. And 40 some years ago, when I studied biochemistry, there was no talk of redox signaling molecules. We knew that glucose comes into the cell and it goes through a cycle of changes that ends up making energy. And every cell has to make their own energy. There's no energy producing generator anywhere specifically in our body, except every cell has to produce its own energy. And in the process of doing that, there are 16 molecules that are spun off. Originally, when they were found, they were thought to be exhaust fumes of the process of making energy and just waste. And now it's known that those molecules are extremely important and essential for every function of our bodies. So we have situations where there are conditions, you may call them degenerative conditions or inflammatory conditions, where we don't have enough molecules to overcome and fix the problem. Picture a child running through the living room and getting down on their knees and getting a rug burn as they slide across the carpet. In a day or so, that's all healed up. You and me, I'm 75. It would take me 5, 6, 7 days probably to heal up from the same thing. That's why children don't have as many serious medical issues as us older folks. Because from puberty onward, we have a decrease in the number of molecules that our bodies make. They're made in what are called mitochondria. Picture, if you will, from Biology 101. You see a picture of a cell. It's got a nucleus. It's got some funny things called ribosomes and endoplasmic reticulum. I remember those names. And mitochondria. And mitochondria make the energy in this cycle of energy production. From puberty onward, we have fewer and fewer of those mitochondria, and they are a little more sluggish, about 1% per year decrease. So we do need some boosting and replenishment of those molecules. When they were found and discovered, they thought, wow, if this is really what we think it is, wouldn't it be great if we could somehow replenish those and have a source outside the body to help people who are deficient in redox signaling molecules. But they knew they were very fleeting. They show up, they do their job, and revert back to what they were made from, which is saline, the cell fluid that you all know, cytoplasm, the liquid in the cells. And then the mitochondria reform them as redox signaling molecules to do the next task. And it just goes on and on and on. Those molecules can pass through the cell walls. They're very small, so it can be a ripple effect in a given area. These are signaling molecules that tell the body there's something going on here. Get the police corps in, get the workers here to take care of this, to either fix this cell or to break it down, destroy it, and replace it with new ones. So that's what we're talking about here, is little tiny molecules we didn't know about 25 years ago that are essential for basically every function of our bodies. And now we can replenish those because they have been produced and stabilized in a form that Jim is going to show here in a moment with his big blue bottle, because I forgot to bring mine to the camera. But
Yes,
there it
you
is.
got it.
There we go.
So don't you think with the gene study and all that we've learned since 2017 when it came out, hormone modulation and your background, really every stage of women's health, of course men too, but since we're talking about your background, so women's health in teenage years, premenopause, postmenopause, I mean, every stage of a woman's life, these molecules are needed, not just over 40 type people. It's young women to college and all the changes and the hormone changes and the glands, they're harder to heal as they get older. And so maybe you could talk a little bit about how the gene study, how important that is, and the areas,
well,
the 5 or 6
the gene
areas
study was done by a separate lab, not owned by Asea. To determine what really happens with people who take this. So they had people who average age 35, healthy people who drank Asea for 8 weeks. And they measured various things in their blood and followed various genetic markers that have been discovered. And lo and behold, these genetic markers were turned on in ways that helped the body to be healthier in the areas of cardiovascular health and hormones and inflammation and digestion and neurology. And the research that has come out of that showed that after drinking this for 8 weeks, and then the people stopped because the study was over, they went back to normal. So we don't have a way to turn the mitochondria on and have them produce more of the redox signaling molecules, unless Dr. Lee can tell me differently about that. But it's my understanding that we don't boost the production of that. We do boost the production of glutathione, which is the master antioxidant. It's such a big molecule that it does not pass through cell walls easily. So each cell has to make their own glutathione, and that is far more potent than any of the plant-based antioxidants that you can buy or eat with foods and so on. Did I get off track here? Oh,
No.
You were talking about hormones. Okay, so I'm not don't go after me for being a misogynist, but I have to remember a joke that one of my midwives said. She said, PMS, it's mad cow disease. Oh, but anyway, no phone calls, please, after 11 o'clock.
You're going to be in trouble for that, dog.
His name is Dr. Larry.
I'm glad we turned off the chat because that would have gotten it going.
Yeah. I tell you what, moods are also affected by these molecules. And I didn't have Asea when I was in practice, so I can only go on by what I've read, what I've talked to patients or to women. And how many times have I heard somebody say, I need to take some more Asea because I'm grumpy, or I'm having problems with irritation, or the kids are driving me crazy, drink some more Asea, and it affects the moods. Any number of women after menopause who don't want to use estrogen are healthier in many ways, topically and as well as internally. So this is very helpful for the cells of the body that would like to have estrogen, but you don't want to supplement perhaps for risk of bad cell growth.
Right. That's what.
Okay.
Yeah.
Real quick, Dr. Larry, you got introduced to this how long ago? 8 or 9 years ago?
Yes.
Okay. What did it take? Did you just see that transformation of that gentleman? Is that what piqued your interest? And or once seeing that, did you have to validate the science? What did it take for you to flip your switch to go, even as a retired doctor at that time, to say everybody needs this? What did you see or read or do?
For me, it was a matter of ever increasing development in this line. I was going to print off a list of 17 different ways it's affected my health. Toward the end of my practice, before I retired, I'd had a heart attack, and I didn't know it at first. I was pulling some brush up a hillside so we could see the river, and oh man, kind of pressure in the chest, and got checked, and nope, heart's fine. 2 years later, brush had grown up again. I was cutting it down, hauling it up the hillside. Same thing. Nope, your heart's fine. Same thing 2 years later. This time they said, oh, you have an area of your heart that is not pumping, it's not contracting. It is scar tissue. It's just flopping in the breeze.
Oh.
That was 8 years ago. 2 years ago, I had another scan that's
Oh, it's frozen. Oh, shoot.
functioning that should, and the scar tissue is not there. In my mind, even going through medical school, in my mind, scar tissue is kind of like dead tissue. Well, it turns out even scar tissue cells have the full complement of 43 chromosomes, and we know that they just aren't working well. So when they're given these molecules, 46 chromosomes, when they're given these molecules, I could see Maureen's brain going there. We missed a few. Anyway, these turn on, the redox signaling molecules turn on, and the genes start working and saying, we're supposed to be contracting with that electrical signal that comes down here. And so that's what happened. My heart is back to normal. I no longer take medicine for blood pressure issues, for cholesterol issues, for painful joint in my toe issues. Anyway, 17 different things that I listed and I was going to print up, but you don't want to hear the whole list.
You know, that's
Right.
amazing, Dr. Larry. I'm really glad that we made the disclaimer, because that is a powerful witness. What you're talking about from your personal experience,
yeah.
And I think it's a good reminder for all of us that, especially those who are new, is to do some type of a survey. You know, take inventory of your health, and maybe even wherever you're at now, do another inventory presently to identify, you know, what's going on, and maybe start setting some goals about things that you can do. This isn't just about drinking, you know, a supplement or rubbing gel on. This is one of the things that we're really trying to emphasize. This is a different lifestyle. It's the lifestyle that your cells want to live. And when we give them the right conditions and we give them the right ingredients and we treat them the way they were designed to be treated, then they're going to treat us better. and sometimes our head gets in the way because we're conditioned. We have different sets of expectations. We almost have a drug mentality, where we take things that fix us. And what you're describing is a very natural method for aligning ourselves with those rules that govern in the cell. And so I would just encourage everybody, kind of spurred on with what you just said, to stop and take another inventory and see where you're at and set some goals for what you can do to improve your redox lifestyle. Because you've got to believe, I believe, that there's a synergistic power with this. If you employ all of these tools that we've been given, and you have something like as powerful as Asea come along to help with, giving you that foundational layer of redox signaling, that great things can come from that.
Yeah. And a lot of people say, well, how in the world can one product do so many things? And I liken it to you have a huge box, and inside that box are multiple other containers and boxes. Some of those turn something that's cold to hot and hot to cold. Some of those boxes may cut or curl or straighten your hair or remove stubble from your face, as we were talking about. Show moving pictures, communicate with other people, chase away the darkness, provide entertainment, refuel your car. And then a little squirrel comes along and walks up or climbs up the pole and gets across the fuse and blows the fuse, and none of those things are working. But you fix the fuse and the heat goes on, the refrigerator works, the TV works, all these things that need those electrons that way. Or you can picture a person who's been in a car accident or some other place where they've lost significant amount of blood, and they're anxious, they're cool, clammy skin, confusion, decreased or no urine output, pale skin color, rapid breathing, moist sweating skin, rapid weak pulse, loss of consciousness. Get them to the hospital, plug in an IV, give them a transfusion, voila, every one of those symptoms goes away if you got it there fast enough and in time. So here we are with redox signaling molecules that every cell of our bodies need to work right. Jim, please.
Okay.
Well, and a lot of people get really confused when they look at this bottle. Because if I were going to go to the grocery store, I'm going to look, okay, what is it? It's a dietary supplement. Then I'm going to turn around to the back and go, the ingredients, water and sodium chloride. It's like, wait a minute, I didn't just fall off the turnip truck. You've got to be crazy if you think a dietary supplement and sodium chloride and water are going to do that. Lee, I don't know if that's a better, or Maureen, how do you, as doctors, how do you explain that? Because there's a lot of people that get thoroughly baffled by that. Maureen?
Yeah, I totally understand. When Terry Latham first came to me about this salt water from Salt Lake City, I was like, I live on an island. I'm surrounded by salt water. I don't have to pay for it. But, using the analogy of going to the grocery store and looking at the back of the bottle, how many of us are really going to pay, $6 for something that says flour and water and sugar and butter and milk and eggs? If you thought about it, and it's just a bowl of goop, right? It's not until you put it into the oven and you transfuse it with energy that the magic happens. You start with a bowl of goop, you end up with cake. Of course, I was going to talk about cake, cupcakes, so same thing with this. You start with salt water, but it's infused with energy. So what you end up with is not what you started with. We started with saline, just like we do in the cells of our body. But what we end up with is redox signaling molecules. So don't be put off by what you're reading on the back. That is because of the FDA that has to be listed that way. Just like if you pick up your loaf of bread and you read what's on there, or a cake, it's going to say, flour and water and whatever. It's the ingredients. It's not the end product. But yeah, thank you, Dr. Larry. I love your analogy.
Yeah, I do too. But go one step further, maybe, Lee. Why is it a dietary supplement? Why Why that? Why that category?
Because it
Lee?
had
Because that's the safe way to get this marketed. At one time, the history of this, for those who don't know, is there was a biotech company that was actually trying to perfect this to be a medication. It was going to go after some pretty serious diseases that came around in the 70s and 80s. And so that was an investor pool that came together, and they were just hot on this to make a drug out of it. And to become a drug, you've got to be in a lab that you get a LD50 certificate, where half of the mice or the rats or whatever you're testing, you increase the dose until half of them perish, and then you can become approved. Well, that couldn't happen. This is a testament to its extreme wide safety margin. And so once they passed that hurdle, an investor group came in and realized that, or a new group came in and realized that it wasn't going to go the direction of a drug. So they flipped it over to the supplement side of the FDA. And so different rules apply. That's why we speak of the disclaimer, is we can't make medical claims. And we really have no interest to spend another 10 years or $1 billion to go back into that track again to prove it, from a medical point of view, for specific diseases. Dr. Larry made the comment that this affects every cell in the body. Can you imagine spending 10 years and $10 million on 100 different claims for different things going on in the body? It's not even feasible. And so with it being a supplement now, we can speak to it in a generic sense because it affects everything. It affects all processes. And it's not about disease. That's a mindset that doesn't play here. This is about cellular health. And when cells work right, the downstream problems that were created when they weren't working right often can resolve. And I call it's the inner doctor. It's the inside forces within us. They talk about, may the force be with you. Well, this is the force that's with us. It's the way we were designed. And when we give it what it needs, then it can correct all those problems. And, obviously, maybe Dr. Larry's are one exception. I always tell people that there's water under the bridge. I mean, if you lose your arm, it's not going to replace a missing arm. That ship has already sailed. But for the most part, I believe that it can, and essentially it'll correct the cellular defects and deficiencies in redox functioning wherever you're at, and the future is much brighter. So we speak of this as a supplement for those reasons, and it's really not a curse. It's really a wonderful blessing because it allows us. We didn't have to wait another 50 years for this to be proven, in the minefields of the FDA. It is out here now, and look at the tens and tens and tens of thousands of people whose lives have now been affected.
And so safe because it's native to the body. And you cannot say that with everything in the nutrition world. Can't say that with oils and herbs, even though those things can be good when it's a formula, but they're not redox, us being a category creator.
Well, and let's make this point right there too. And is that even though this is a supplement, this is not nutrition. Right. You still need nutrition. Right. This is, as Dr. Larry said, this is the choreographer. This is the director. This is the signaling that shouts the directions to the cell of what to do with what you do eat.
Right. And this makes everything else you're doing for good health work better. This is going to make those vitamins work better, or these other. Alan Noble made a good point about you can't put it in a nutrition store, because for all the years that I've known nutrition with the degree, and I shop, Nature's Grocers, Trader Joe's, all those places, you couldn't walk into a store, you grab this pretty blue bottle. In nutrition, you're focused on ingredients, what's in it, how much sugar, how much salt, all these things. With this, you can't look at the back of the bottle and see 2 ingredients, and then you're going to put it right back on the shelf because you don't understand it. You have to get educated, and that's what people like us are for.
Okay, now, I don't know if we ever talk about what I'm getting ready to ask, but Dr. Larry, what is the importance, because I think this may be a stumbling block for some people. Do I have to drink this stuff every day? And, well, when can I stop drinking it? Do I have to drink it for until I feel better, until my boo-boo goes away? Or how long should I have to drink this material? Dr. Larry.
Well, I answer that with saying, how long do you want to stay alive? Do you plan on breathing air, oxygen, every couple of seconds for the rest of your life? Yes, you need this because your body is not going to ever, to our knowledge at this point, make more of these molecules on its own. We're supplementing for the deficit that your aging cells have. And so, yes, you need to continue taking it. Can you drink less as you've gotten a sweet spot and you say, okay, my symptoms are under control. I'm measuring my whatever, blood pressure, blood sugar, whatever, and those are now good. You can start to lower the dose perhaps. You may have to go back up, but if you want, the consistency is the important thing, just like breathing every day.
Okay.
So
I love that. I like to. Oh, sorry, Jim.
No, go ahead, Maureen. I'm talking too much anyway. Go ahead.
No. Oh, never, Jim.
Never.
Like my brother. No, it's kind of like exercise, Doc, right? You can exercise, you can be on a good diet plan and exercising, you can get one of those buff bodies, looks great. But if you stop doing those things over time, you're going to go back to baseline. And that's kind of what we saw with the study with those healthy 35-year-olds. They took it for 8 weeks. 100% of them had an increase in the transcription of beneficial genes with 5 different pathways. That's what we were talking about before with the hormonal control and all. Then they took them off. You know what was so amazing? It was a double-blind, placebo-controlled crossover study. So they had some people who were on controls. The placebo was the actual saline that our product is made from. So when people say, well, it's just salt water, no, the people with salt water had no effect. The people who were on the product, 100% of them had an increase in transcription of 20 to 31%, which is very significant. When they stopped it after 8 weeks, they all went back to baseline. So what you're saying, Doc, is as long as they want to have the benefits, as long as they want to feel good, all we're doing here is a bioreplenishment. It's a biohack. We're just amplifying and correcting the deficit and the imbalance in these molecules. So as long as you want that, you want to look better, feel better, act younger, stay on it.
No,
Stop
I'll
it at
just
your own.
say for something like a burn, and I've done this several times. I burned myself on a light here recently, and it really hurt. I don't know what I was thinking because I had not turned it off, but just a moment before. Anyway, it hurt. So I started applying the Renew Gel, and I applied the Renew Gel, and I applied the Renew Gel 3 times in the first 5 minutes. It started to hurt again a few minutes later. Over the course of a few hours, I applied it probably 20 or 30 times. But then the pain was gone, and it did not form a blister. It tried, but that all dried up. And so you don't have to keep putting gel on your burn the rest of your life. But you do want to be drinking and taking these molecules from the inside out.
Well, yeah. Yeah, and you're going to get optimal health. I mean, you may not care, well, I don't want to live until 100 or whatever
I do.
Whatever God's timestamp is for your life, he decides when we go. Why not have the best quality of life until that last day?
Yes.
And going back to the gene study, circadian rhythm, serotonin, and then of course the hormones, our sleep affects, maybe you can talk the importance of sleep. You repair. This is why we take it when we wake up, we take it before we go to bed, because better sleep, you repair, you're going to have better moods, you're going to have more serotonin on these molecules. I mean, it all goes together. Hormones are definitely affected. They correlate with good sleep. And so maybe you can discuss with people how important it is, like Maureen said, exercise, drink plenty of regular, good, clean water while you're on Redox, and as clean as you can eat, and then of course sleep. Those all,
And then
they
the
all go together.
nutritional
Well, yeah,
supplements
nutrition is
as well.
going with eating clean. Yeah.
I don't want to get into the unnamed
Sleep.
source issue here, but I can't recall who said this, but I recently heard that if you miss 2 hours of sleep at night, you have a significant drop in your immune competency the next day.
Yep.
So try to
Jerry
get
White.
Yeah, Jerry White. Okay, so
Yeah. Yeah.
what else causes the reduction of our body's ability with these molecules? Are there other things that cause the molecules, our body to go down with our immune system, like stress? I don't know if anybody's under any more stress over the last couple of years or not, but are there other things that cause the body to deteriorate quicker than just normal aging?
We could do a round robin here, and I'll say toxins.
Yeah, please. Maureen?
Next.
Electromagnetic rays. They do.
What's electromagnetic rays? What does that mean?
Well, like I turn off my phone at night, put it in airplane mode, then you're going to have less electromagnetic rays. Obviously, there's others in that realm, but I mean, yeah, the 5Gs, all that, your iPads, yeah, you definitely are going to be affected by those
Maureen? What's
Toxins,
causing the body to wear down more?
toxins. She said.
toxins in our food, our water, pesticides, herbicides.
Yeah.
Lee, what do you think is one of the what?
Can you hear me?
Sometimes it would skip. What was the last one? I don't know if you said something else. Okay.
Oh, herbicides, glyphosate,
Oh, yes.
Roundup,
Yes,
and
yes.
stuff like that.
There you go. Yes. Perfect.
Heavy metals.
Well,
Yes.
one of the biggest impacts on this whole thing is what we call energy metabolism. It's just the whole concept of how we burn the food that we eat. We call it macronutrients, the carbohydrates and the proteins and fatty acids and so forth. How we convert that into energy. The type of diet that we have is what really drives metabolic health. All this non-communicable metabolic disease that's out there, that we call it chronic disease, has its basis in how our mitochondria burns food as fuel to create energy. And it's the byproduct of those reactions, the hormones that they create, the insulin, resistance and so on and so forth. All of that stacks up and produces a massive stress on the cell in terms of the damage. And so proteins inside the cell become folded or disorganized or damaged. And that's one of the reasons why sleep is so critical, is because during sleep, we go through what's called autophagy, where it's like Pac-Man going through our body, gobbling up all of the damaged cell parts and recycling them. And if we're not eating right and we're not sleeping right, we can't do that. And so we talk in Asea about the antioxidant, pathway of NRF2 and glutathione, and we talk about cellular renewal. Well, but we don't really talk about cellular renewal yet. We will, but cellular renewal is this autophagy. It's cleaning things up. It's taking the damage away that comes from just even our diet.
Yeah. Well, and you add source if you would just add source alone, read
Explain
the
what that
list.
is. They don't know what
RV is source line. Obviously there's 4, but if you read all the ingredients, then you'll get the right amount of the fats, the superfoods, the enzymes your digestion needs. I mean, it's just 4 of those rice capsules with all your nutrients inside. And now you're getting total cellular health. You're getting the redox, you're getting what your body needs of food. Because if you go look at the traditional Western diet, it is so lacking. I mean, go read the ingredients, go find out how things are processed and made. You'd be shocked some of the stuff that's in food you should really avoid less.
Not in.
Or eating out less. Just eat out less and eat more at home. You should have like only 10% eating out and eat more at home. And you'd be shocked what kind of better nutrients you get. And if you're not getting it, I would get on the Via Source, the whole line. But Via Source is for sure the number one multi.
So speak to the younger people that go, I don't have any problems. I'm in perfect health. How long does it take some issues to grow into a problem that they may not have any idea is growing right now until it decides to show up. Talk to them real quick, Dr. Larry.
Well,
Why should they
I've
be
heard
on it when they're
that
younger?
That many what we call chronic conditions have been festering or percolating for up to 8 years before a symptom shows up. And what we often say is, may you never experience what you can prevent. And we're talking prevention here. So even one of our top leaders has never had a symptom that he thought was corrected by drinking Asea, but he drinks it every day. So he doesn't want to see a disease process show up.
Right.
And then Dr. James Watson of Watson and Crick fame, who were the ones that unraveled the mystery of the DNA, the human genome, back a few years ago. He's in his 80s, and as late as 2014 wrote that he believes that degenerative diseases, type 2 diabetes, some dementia, and I'm using terms here, and I'm not saying we claim that we fix these things, but he believes that these things, some cardiovascular issues, are due to a deficiency of redox signaling molecules. He didn't take the step, and I'm not going to take the step of saying, but we can fix it. But
Right.
you add it up in your mind. Draw your own conclusions on that if those conditions are deficiencies.
Okay, so whichever one, you three that wants to deal with this, real quick, Maureen, can you help people set correct expectations when they start drinking and applying the gel? By golly, I want a result right now, right? I don't want to wait. Can you please talk to them about get it set up here? How much time should it take, Maureen?
Oh, I thought you were asking Don. It's individual, right? We even know with medications that not everybody's going to respond exactly the same way. So it kind of depends, but we have some numbers that we follow that we know that most people, I think it's about 10% will have an immediate response to it. Now, I'm talking about the liquid, not the gel. The gel, people can have a very quick response doing the 3 times, applying it 3 times in 5 minutes. It seems to take away a lot of discomfort, and people will feel that. They'll feel a change in their proprioception. We can help them have that product experience very quickly. But being on the liquid, about 10% will feel it within, immediately to the first week, about 30% by the first month, 90% by 3 months. So what I ask my people to do is to give me 3 to 4 months before they make a judgment. This way, all of the cells in the body that are going to turn over get to turn over with a full complement of redox signaling molecules on board. We do know from experience that sometimes we can move that timeline up some by having them take more. Some people just have, maybe they're older, they have a bigger deficit, maybe they have a very big challenge, whether that's a physical challenge or athletic challenge, and they'll benefit from more. But we don't want to make everybody feel like they need to make that huge investment. You just have to be patient. You have to let it work, give it some time to work. And also, it's so important, and you brought this up before, Jim, to make sure, or maybe it was you, Dr. Lee, to make sure that you are keeping track. There's a physical tracker that comes in every box of Asea that has 12 different categories on it. It's very, very important to see where you are baseline and to keep track of that, because I will tell you, as things improve, you forget about them. It's a beautiful thing that the mind just sort of erases it. But, I know from all the years I practice, I'm sure Dr. Lee and Dr. Larry can say this as well, that when something goes away, it kind of leaves the mind. And so if you're not tracking it, people may not recognize the fact that their sleep is better, their mood is better, their stamina is better, and so many things that they're not thinking about have improved while they're waiting for this one thing to respond. So that's what I say. Thanks, Jim.
It's awesome.
You're going to say something, Maureen. I'm sorry. I know what to do.
I was going to pivot a little bit, if you guys don't mind, because I know Dr. Larry and I know some of his background, and I wanted to kind of talk a little bit about something that's so important to Lee and myself and you, Dr. Larry, and probably and Jim, to you as well, because you've been in the financial arena for so long. But why would a physician want to do this as a business, and Doc, I was thinking about it today because we had a discussion earlier today about Robert Kiyosaki's book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And I remember, Larry, if this came to me this afternoon, do you remember telling me about investing in a bone density machine? You had your own practice, so you had a brick and mortar business. You were employing people. You were paying, rent and leasing equipment and all. Can you talk a little bit about that and what kind of investment that is and what kind of financial responsibility? And, if you don't mind sharing that story about the machine that you had purchased. So I think that would.
Well, bone density is very important marker to know about in health, especially as people get older. And my patients being women, we look for bone density problems so that they, arrest it or prevent it before there's fractures, before there's disability, before the vertebral bodies start collapsing and so on. So we purchased a machine. I went through the formal training that any radiologist would go through and became certified to read the bone density scans. That machine was $60,000. And as it turns out, Medicare would pay about $27 for an exam. So it didn't turn out to be the financial cash cow that I thought it might as we're helping people. But medicine it's hard to practice medicine these days. The insurance companies want to pay less. The health plans, the Medicare, Medicaid pays very little. So you're seeing a lot of doctors struggling right now. And if they knew the gold that we have in this product, it would make a big difference in how they handle their patients, how they treat their patients, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
You were talking about a plan B. Anybody heard about inflation or recession or bank or savings institutions failing or housing bubble bursts or ransomware attack, tornadoes, hurricanes, massive floods, layoffs, downsizing? We never know when our job is going to disappear. Some company comes in and buys out your employer. Oh, we don't need as many employees now. And oh, by the way, those of you who are staying, you get to work for two people's amount of work. So we do need to have a plan B, income we can count on through a catastrophe. And this is one neat thing about this is because it takes education, it takes time to share and to help people understand this. We are helping people every time we do this, but it is a good plan B of income. We're in 33 countries. There is income happening around the clock as people are signing up and using these products.
that's right. I was just going to say with Jim's situation, he was on one particular med for many, many years, even before I met him. So I always watched him suffer 13 years with the issues of 10 back surgeries and then the side effects of all the stuff he was on, and then seeing such a change in the first few days. I mean, if you really think about that, he had better quality of life. He didn't have to miss work because you miss work every time you have a surgery. And he was always in pain and, time limited with children. And so he got all that back. He didn't have the copays. He didn't have so many things that changed that people they're missing out knowing that there's another option. We're like hope in a bottle. But I just know from personal experience what this has done for us, just keeping him well and off of all that stuff he was on.
So you mentioned a word. My father was an oral surgeon. I want to ask this to Dr. Osler. You say you practice medicine. Who would you rather trust, Lee? The doctor within or the doctor without?
Ooh.
Lee?
Well, I might have a little skin in the game there. So, I mean, I'm still practicing, but your point is well made.
Okay.
Your point is well made, and it's like you need both. that we have damage going on, and there are people like Dr. Cairns who had a heart event. I mean, what if it would have been worse? And I realize that was back in the day, but the point is we really do need both, and to be fair-minded. I think that's an important to make. But I would rather also make sure that my inner doctor is as strong and optimally working as I can, so I can minimize. This is called prevention rather than intervention. And those are two totally different philosophical, ideological approaches, but they're not mutually exclusive. There's room in this boat for all of us. I tell people it's about whether you want to stay on the top of the cliff or stay at the bottom of the cliff. And when I fall, I hope there's somebody down there that can put me together. But I'd rather get back up on top of the cliff and put some guardrails at the edge or some fences so that I don't fall again.
Like Humpty Dumpty. Well, yeah. And if you read your body and you're able to know, if something doesn't seem right, well, you could take more redox signaling molecules. You could put more gel on it. People wouldn't know that 9 days ago I got hit by an airbag. You wouldn't know that because I bounced back so quick. You don't even know that it hit maybe you do see a little bit, but it rapidly recovered so quick at the nose. Though I had a totaled car, I walked away. I climbed out the other side and I doctored it up right while I was there. And I'm quite amazed at the recovery that I had so quickly. It was just astonishing.
Well, and that's what's amazing. We always think about being proactive for our health, but we tend to forget that we're going to get boo-boos along the way. And that's why you always want to keep extra on hand. Don't just take the bare bone minimum. I don't want to take the bare bone minimum because we never, when we go outside, we may get hit with some unknown bugaboo. And, I want my body's immune system to be fully armed and ready to go. So, and then, I cut my thumb with we're always, I think Ann and I are becoming more accident prone here lately. But you never know.
You guys are giving me angina, honestly. I just want to make a disclaimer, you guys, that what it's fantastic. We love it. It helps your body to heal itself. But please, there is a role for your physicians. And I hope
I know that
you got hit by an airbag. You went to the hospital. You know what? Please.
No, we're not saying that.
Yeah, please. If you have a challenge, please, if you need to go to the emergency room, please go to the emergency room. Take your Asea, spritz, use your gel, drink your stuff. But there is a role for physicians. Like Dr. Lee was saying, if you fall down to the bottom of that mountain, please call 911. Right. Just saying.
Well, and this situation was different. Yeah. This was different because it didn't have blood. There, yes, you're going to get accidents, and I was fine. Everything went fine.
God, you look great.
Oh, thanks. But in our case, this was related to Jim's 10 back surgeries. So, we may have difference of opinion. I was told by people that for him to be on that particular drug for 25 years was very wrong, that they didn't look for other options. Jim had a back issue. He didn't have a illness to the heart. That's different. But when you're talking something he didn't need anymore, it was a travesty that his doctor would have kept him that long on a drug. It really was. And doctors we have the best emergency care system on the planet in this country.
Sure.
And I'm not trying to imply that you never need to go see a doctor. But I am going to trust the inner doctor because we have this that fixes the inner doctor. And so I'm going to trust that because Lee, I will always think of your wife.
Yeah.
That she had a lot of medical doctors that the last one said, Lee, there's nothing that we can do for her. If I change this medication, it's going to affect negatively 3 other areas, if I remember correctly. So her inner doctor was the only doctor that could fix her. And it's just, I don't know where to go with that one, but
Larry, you can help close us.
I'm losing track.
I'm waiting for Jim's usual last question about how big is this?
Well, hey, give me a chance.
That's a good question.
Give me a chance. Yeah, it's 9 o'clock, but I'm going to ask that question. Then we'll pause and stop the recording. Then we'll We're
Okay.
going to stick around for a little bit of wild chat time. What do you
Yeah.
call it, Maureen? What are you drinking, Maureen? Anyway, sorry.
It's water.
Well, it's coffee.
You have you have a new
But you
pretty
know, it
cup.
says
I
Las
noticed.
Vegas. Can y'all see that? Las
All
Vegas.
right.
Little plug for
Okay.
convention.
That's right.
Cool. So,
Larry.
Okay.
Hey,
Number one,
how big is this?
everybody has redox signaling molecules, and everybody, the longer we live, will become deficient at some point. There's no medication that everybody needs or will eventually need. There's no medication, essential oil, CBD oil, or anything that is free of potential toxicities. Most of them have a long list. Every prescription I wrote has a patient information page that's so small print you can't read it. But Asea and Renew products have zero toxicities, zero side effects, zero allergenicities, 100% safe. In fact, probably it's safer to drink this than to drink water from many places. Therefore, everybody is a candidate for replenishing redox signaling molecules. Everybody, all 7 billion of us.
That's perfect.
Awesome.
This is a segue into next week.
So next week we're going to have nurses night out.
4.
We're going to have 4 nurses that are going to join us.
Love
You
it.
may
Who
need
are
to
they?
get-
I can
Wait,
tell
wait,
you
wait.
since I picked them, Doria Stewart, Nelda Castillo, Amy Stacy, first timer. She's under Dr. Silverman, been on the material for 9 years. I've heard her speak. She's awesome. And then we're going to have Suzanne Truax, who y'all have heard, all our favorites, and then one new. So pretty neat next week.
Hey, Lee, we're going to have to gang up. We're going to have to get a couple of other guys. We need some male nurses. This is kind of ridiculous. But guys, thank you so much for joining. I'm going to stop the recording. Stick around. We may chat for a little bit more. Hold on, please.
Bye,
Thank you, guys.
everybody.
Night, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Love you guys.
And the video will be up, and we'll have it available on Redox Matters. Go to the 5 tab, and all these videos and past videos, Dr. Osler has done an amazing thing by having all these videos there. So
For sure.
thank you very much. And then also go to Asea United. They'll be there as well.
Yep.